Hi, I'm Mike with House on the Mend, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Litheli Cordless Polesaw, complete with a 3-foot extension and running on their very innovative U20 battery platform. So let's get started. House on the Mend. Now, I'm not paid nor sponsored by Litheli. I have reviewed several of their other outdoor tools, and in all cases, they sent me the product for free for my independent review. So let's unbox it, see what comes in the package. We'll go over the setup of the tool and the battery platform. Once again, a box within a box. They don't mess around with shipping. All right, here's everything that comes in the excellent packaging. We have the head here, and the first thing I notice is that it has a dial to adjust the tension on the chain rather than having to carry a wrench around that would loosen it and adjust it. I like that very much. This little guard here is to help you push against your work area and then cut. One glaring thing missing is the bar and the chain. They come completely disassembled from the product. That is an extra step of assembly that I think is a pain. I wish they would have installed that already, because you do get a scabbard to protect the chain, and most of the time when you buy tools they come with the bar and the chain on and then the scabbard over them. But as you can see, that would have added about another 6 inches in the packaging, so I understand it, but it's going to be kind of a pain to assemble. Now, right up top here you'll see this cap, and that is for bar chain oil. So unlike some of the smaller chainsaws, the mini electric chainsaws that I reviewed that you just spray some lubricant on the chain, this is getting back to your traditional style of chainsaw where there is bar chain oil required, and as the chainsaw operates it's automatically lubricating the bar and the chain. And you can see here there is a little window where you'll be able to tell the amount of fluid that you have left. We will go over that later on in the review video. Now, as far as the tool, the build quality, as usual, is excellent. You've got this really cool carbon fiber looking portion of the black plastic, then the orange accents, the white fit and finish is really nice. There's no jagged edges anywhere. All 3 of these poles are metal and pretty heavy duty rather than fiberglass. So one of my chief complaints about the Ryobi Polesaw that I reviewed was that these rivets at the junction points became loose inside the fiberglass, and the whole saw was very wobbly. So I'm going to be interested to see how this holds up to use and if it's more stable. The next piece we see here is the handle. It's got port for the battery to go into, more on that later. You've got a little safety release here, and then the trigger. Right here I see a swivel that receives the shoulder strap, and it also has a screw right here for this centerpiece, so you can slide it and adjust it for what, about 10 inches? Yeah, about 10 inches of adjustment to try to get it balanced. So I'll be interested to see how comfortable that is. In front of that is this really nice long foam handle grip. The strap is your typical kind of nylon shoulder strap. It has one metal clasp up front that will actually connect it to the tool, and then some plastic adjustment as well as kind of belt loop snap here, and then some more metal towards the shoulder area. And the shoulder pad has quite a bit of foam and padding on it for a shoulder strap. That's cool. Usually you just get a little piece of rubber. The unit comes with one 2.5 amp hour battery, which is a nice size. I have several of these Litheli batteries. They are fantastic. Let's take it inside, take a closer look, and go over charging. If you've watched any of my other reviews on Litheli products, The talk and discussion and charging of the battery is going to be pretty much the same. So if you want to jump forward to this point in the review, we'll get to actually assembling and testing. But otherwise, I want to show you some aspects of this battery because they're very different than your typical one. And if I don't put that in, I do get questions in the comments. So let's head inside and take a closer look.
All right, let's take a closer look at this very sleek battery that you get. It's got the same sort of carbon fiber graphic along the sides of it. On the top of the battery, you get a battery life indicator. I love that. We can see here out of the package, we have 3 out of 4 bars. Now on the other side, if you look at this picture here, you will see a standard USB port. There is a negative and a positive port. Those are the ones that go into the tool. And you have a USB-C port here. So this battery is multifunctional. Not only can it run your tool at 20 volts, but it also has a USB and a USB-C output of 5 volts to charge any of your electronic devices, such as your phone, or in my case, camera gear, which is really, really cool. I have seen attachments that go on some of the major tool brands batteries, and with that attachment you can charge electronics, but it's rare to see a battery that has 2 ports for that kind of thing already built in. Now, speaking of the USB-C port, which is the one to the far right of this face of the battery, that is the port that you charge this tool with. So there's no cradle or any other charger. You can charge this with a standard household USB-C charger. In fact, the battery comes with this cable right here that is pretty cool. Not only is it a USB to USB-C, so you can charge with it, or you can charge other things with it, but this one actually breaks free here, folds back, and you have USB-C to C. That's really cool that they include that. Now, speaking of charging, what you're looking at here are 3 very common household chargers. This little guy here is only 5 3/4 watts. This Amazon one is 9, and then this Apple one is the largest of them all, charging at 10 watts. However, if you look on the bottom of the battery and you read the data, you'll see right here that this battery can be charged at a maximum of 45 watts. So that's 4 times the power of even our largest household charger. So my recommendation is not to use household chargers, but instead to buy one of these. I got this one off of Amazon. It is a 45 watt charger, and it is not very expensive. It looks like any other charger, but when you deplete these big batteries down, this will charge it in a quarter of the time that a charger like this would. And one of the only things I don't like about these battery cases is that there's no way to distinguish on them which sized battery is which. Those sorts of markings are readily identifiable on most batteries, but here you would have to break out a watt calculator and do some calculations. So what I have done is to keep track of my various Litheli battery strengths. I take and I label them with our little label maker so that I can keep track of which size battery is which. Speaking of battery sizes, here are some name brand batteries that you're probably aware of, and if you look at the actual perimeter of the Litheli battery, you'll see it's just slightly bigger than some of the batteries. However, if you look at this view, you'll see that it is thinner than all of the competitor batteries. All right, with our 45 watt charger, I'll plug into the battery, and you can see we immediately start getting a readout on the battery life indicator. 3 of the bars are solid, and we have 1 blinking bar.
While the battery's charging, let's set up the saw. So you've got this straight piece right here on the chain tensioner. We're simply going to undo that counterclockwise. And that releases the entire chain guard. And if we look here, we can see there's little grooves in this piece that's connected to the dial itself, and those are going to correspond with these little grooves on the bar itself. And so as we move that dial and engage these little threads here, the actual bar will move back and forth this way and will tension the chain around this back area here where it connects to the motor. Now here's the included chain. It is an 8-inch and it has a 3/8 inch pitch. So these are widely available on Amazon. Here's a picture of just a quick search I did. So you won't have any problem finding replacements for it if you don't like sharpening. Let's take that out of the bag and we'll unwind it. So you want the tooth that's actually doing the cutting right here facing forward. This little bit right here kind of looks like the tooth, but it's not. This is the actual cutting tooth right here. So with that in mind, let's put the chain on the bar. We don't want any kinks, just like that. Then we can take it in like this. We'll put it around so it engages. See that kink? We don't want that there. It engages with the motor. Now the cover has a couple little plastic keys that correspond on the tool itself so that it doesn't spin around like that. So just start getting it threaded on first, and then as you get closer, you'll feel it, there we go, engage into those holes. All right, now that is fully engaged and on there. So now we need to tension the chain. Now if you see me pull right here, we do have a little bit of play, and that's pretty good. So you don't want it to be so sloppy that the whole chain is sticking out, nor so tight that you can't pull it down at all. So we want to just tighten it up just to the point where we can pull down a little, but we can't see that tooth in there. Just like that. Good. Now I'm going to hold the dial in place, tighten up the tensioning handle here, and now let's recheck it, because sometimes the pitch of the bar changes when you tighten it down, and it's tighter than you thought it was. In fact, this one does that. See how tight that is now? So unfortunately you have to loosen it more than you'd like to, like that, so that when you finally tighten it, it's the appropriate amount. All right, good. All right, now I've got the saw resting on this. Actually is a little guitar head support for when I work on the kids' guitars. Let's fill the reservoir here with bar chain oil. So I just have a little funnel so I don't spill, and I'm just using a standard everyday bar chain oil. You can find a quart like this in any hardware store, tractor supply store, feed store that sells chainsaws and that. I'll leave a link to a brand on Amazon, but we just want to fill right up to this mark right here. Now, One of my chief complaints about these small saws is how small the bar chain oil reservoirs are. So let's see how fast this guy fills up. Oh, already. I barely put any in. Did you see how quickly that happened? Nonetheless, we just put the cap back on. And this portion of the saw is ready to go. All right, when it comes time to put the sections of the poles together, as you see in this picture, there are corresponding plugs from one side of the pole to the next. And all you have to do is line those up. In this case, it's arrow to arrow. And you slide it in there, you'll feel it engage into that plug. Then you have this connector that slides up and just threads on. Righty-tighty. Pretty simple. If you want to use the shoulder strap, you've got this little swiveling portion here that will receive this metal clasp. So let's snap that in place. Here we go. Finally, we'll install the battery. And if you see this key right here, this is what holds the battery in place, and you can see a corresponding little clasp inside of the channel for that. So we'll take the battery, slide it downward. You hear it click into place, and you know you've done it right when you have the battery life indicator available for you to check. Now right down here on the inside of the grip handle is the release button. You simply press that, and the battery is under spring tension from a little spring down at the bottom of the battery port. All right, let's get some protective equipment and start cutting. So for the safety of our trees, let's go over the proper way to cut a branch, especially when you're not there to support it while using, say, a mini electric chainsaw. In this case, we're way up in the air and nothing can support this heavy branch. Now, if you just start trying to make your cut right here where you want it, as the branch starts to bend down, it can tear the flesh down and injure the tree. So instead, what you want to do is come up from your final cut area, make a relief cut underneath, then a little bit in front of that, make your through cut. The branch falls away, there's no injury. Then you can come back and make your final cut so that it ends up looking like this and healing properly. All right, 4 solid bars on the battery means it's fully charged, so we're ready to go. Now, this chase tree here is peeking out a little past the wall. You can see here in the when I'm in my van, it's like encroaching on the area that I drive through and kind of dragging alongside the van. So let's thin it out a little bit. Now, I normally like to make all my cuts when the trees are dormant, but we're into late November and still our trees are hanging around because it's pretty mild out. So they're turning colors, they're getting ready to go dormant, so I think we'll be all right. Okay, now as we talked about, I'm gonna make a relief cut underneath first, and then I'm going to make a through cut and then my final cut. And let's see how we do. Now what I really like on these saws is this hook right here. And if the branch is kind of stuck up in there and not really coming down, you can reach up with that hook and like a gaff, you can pull the branch down. This one was heavy enough. In this example, I didn't need to do that, but it's a cool feature that I've seen on both of the Polesaws that I have so far reviewed. All right, let's make that final clean cut and then we can move on. All right, now this is a heavy head, but I'm feeling like it jumps as I'm making these cuts. It might just be this tree. Let's see if that persists. So believe it or not, this is supposed to be a walking path from the basketball courts through this area, past our little pomegranate grove and over towards the fire pit. But this Chinese tallow has decided it wants to be like a weeping willow, and it weeps right in the path. So let's take care of this branch. Go. All right, a lot less jumpy that time, which is nice. Make my final cut. And there we go, much better. So these Chinese tallow are evergreen, and that means any time of the year you're fine to trim them down. Let's take care of some of these dead branches. Now these are so small and there's no weight on them, I'm just gonna cut straight through them. Got our first little bit of debris in here, just a leaf. But let me flip it over and look. No, it sheds away all of the sawdust really well. Now, we've done a few cuts. Let's check on our chain tightness. It looks like it's definitely loosened a bit. Not bad, but I'm gonna take this opportunity to tighten it up a little and we'll get back to it. Let's take care of this row of sagging palms. Oh yeah, no problem there. You gotta watch out for these stems. They got like shark's tooths on them. They'll get you. All right. It's all right, girls. Well, so far all the cuts we've made have been without this extension. So let's see if it gets wobbly, bouncy, or harder to control. It's definitely going to be heavier on the front end now with this level of standoff, but this big old feather palm needs a little trim. Yeah, no problem. You do have to fight it a little bit more. Oh, look at this. Got a bunch of debris stuck in there this time. It comes right out. Yeah, I like this big open port here. Okay. Let's try the hook. Yeah. Nice. Much better. Well, you can see the tool's doing a great job of lubricating the chain in the bar, but really not going through that much fluid. Look at that. I love it. Well, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I love this ash tree that's right in the center of our yard. One thing I don't love is it hanging over our ceramic tile and possibly bashing into it and bashing into those caps. So we're gonna take care of that right now. I'm gonna do a little relief cut first and a through cut. All right, and then let's do our finish cut. Oh, that's the first time it's ever cut out. All right, let's check and see. Chain's not too loose. Certainly didn't come off. There's nothing in here binding it. Interesting. There it goes again. Oh, it's struggling with this ash. Ugh, hopping a lot. That is not a very big branch. It's very wet though. Admittedly, I'm not much of a strap guy because my microphone is right here and the strap will just rub against it and makes the audio unusable. But in this case, even if I wanted to use the strap, the center of gravity is way over here. Here's where the strap connects. It's pointless. You have to carry it like this to balance out the strap. So I don't feel like taking this whole thing off and putting it over here, because then when I would go to reach up to actually use it, it would be way up here. So I don't think the strap has any point being in this kit. In my mind, a common question from a viewer would be, how long is it? Meaning from holding it right here and actuating the trigger, how high up can I reach? So I took some measurements. In this configuration right here without the extension pole, the unit from the handle to the tip of the blade is 7 feet long, or 213 centimeters. And with the battery and a full reservoir of bar chain oil, the unit weighs 8.8 pounds, which is 4 kilograms. If you add the extension pole on right here in the center, you increase from the 7 feet to 10.5 feet, or 320 centimeters, and the weight increases to 10 pounds, or 4.5 kilograms. Pretty respectable pile. Well, after cutting all those branches and palm fronds, I think I'm more than capable to give you my list of pros and cons. First, the pros. The build quality on this tool is superior. I love the fit and finish of all the plastic. I like the sleek look of it. This head is very substantial, and the whole tool overall feels really good in the hands. Next will be battery life. All of that cutting you saw only lowered the battery by 1 bar, so that is excellent. Next would be oil use. I have complained forever about small oil reservoirs and that you're constantly filling them every couple cuts. That is not the case with this saw. The chain here, you can see, is well lubricated, so is the bar, and yet with all that cutting, we only dropped that slight little amount of oil. So I love that it's lubricating but not wasting the oil and thus making you stop and fill it up all the time. Fantastic. Next, these metal poles are very stable. I do not feel a lot of wobble in the unions of them. Even with the third pole on, when you're raising it up like that with the weight of this head, you do feel the saw swaying back and forth a little bit, but there wasn't that unnecessary play like the fiberglass poles with the rivets in them that the Ryobi pole saw had that I was really disappointed in. The chain tensioner worked great. I only had to make one adjustment, and that was after the initial few cuts when the tool was warming up and that chain was getting like broken in. So I don't count that against this tool. I also love how easy it is to adjust the tension on the chain. You don't need any individual tool in your pocket to undo a bolt here and then take a screwdriver to move the bar back and forth. It's all done right here with this easy little wheel and tensioning bracket here. I like that a lot. Finally would be this chip chute here. It is really large and very little, if anything, got stuck in there, really only like loose leaf debris, but I never had to get in there and clean it out for worry that it was going to impede the lubrication of the chain. Now the cons, and I only have 3. First of all, the tool tends to bounce a lot when you're making the initial cut. I'm not sure if the pitch of the chain might be a little off, or if the balance of the tool, the angle of the head, I'm not sure what it is, but I did find it bouncing quite a bit in the beginning of the cut. Next, due to the width of the head, on this side you have the motor, on this side you have the tensioning wheel. I found it very difficult to see the bar and thus know where I was cutting. So if you're out on this side, you have to kind of hold the tool way out like this, which is almost impossible. So you're kind of better off cutting from the left side of the tool, and thus if you look around maybe like right here, holding the tool out a good foot or 2 away from you, you'll be able to see. But if you're comfortably trying to make a cut and balance the tool against your body while doing so, you cannot straight on see the bar, and that makes it difficult to find the best spot to make your cuts. Lastly, we can't go without saying that while we were cutting that branch on the ash tree, the motor did cut out twice. Now, strangely, it cut through the branch with no issue, but when I was going back to make the safety cut, that final flush cut, so that the tree could heal properly, that's when it was cutting out. Now the wood was wet. I don't know if that has something to do with it, or I don't know if the angle was causing the tool to bind, but it did cut out twice, and we have to talk about that. So if you found this video helpful, will you please give it a thumbs up? It really helps the algorithms to start suggesting it to more viewers like you. Also, please consider subscribing. I work really hard to put out good quality tool reviews. There's a lot more of those to come, and it's free. All you have to do is log in with your account and hit subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you follow my videos on Rumble, you just hit follow there. It's really helpful to the channel. Thank you for everybody that's been doing that. I'm gonna leave a link to this pole saw in the description below. Full disclosure, that will be an Amazon affiliate link. So if you click on it and end up making any purchase, it won't cost you a thing, but I do get a small reward at the end of the month. Now I'd like to thank Litheli for sending me out this pole saw for my independent review with no preconceived agreement on what I was going to say in the review process. The only thing they asked for, in fact, was that I get this video out right around the Black Friday time frame, and I was happy to do that. Until next time, thank you for watching.